Hello everyone, I want to talk about the Orville and the Star Trek of recent years, and how the Orville is slowly becoming more Star Trek than Star Trek itself. And a huge part of this has to do simply with the philosophy of the two different shows. And to highlight this, I want to emphasize a scene from the Orville Season 3, Episode 3. This is an episode about the crew of the Orville being faced with many near-death situations. It is revealed to be simulations, and they were never at any type of a risk, and it was a futuristic civilization that was post-death trying to understand what it means to face your own mortality. And while this is a particularly good episode, the last few minutes is what really stuck out to me. And the reason is because it's not anything fancy, it's just the crew sitting around talking about their own mortality, how they feel about it, and what hopes and dreams they have, and whether or not dying is an honor or something to be terrified of. And I do believe that it is scenes like this that really capture the spirit of the original Star Trek TV show, as well as the Next Generation and the other shows from the 80s and 90s. And the reason that scenes like this capture the spirit isn't because they're fancy sci-fi scenes, but because they're just people sitting around talking about philosophy. And that is really what Star Trek is about. It's about an idealistic future where mankind is at its best and is exploring the galaxy, being pushed into moral dilemmas and having to react to these moral dilemmas, and being able to relate this to current world situations without being preachy, but just giving people something to think about. I think some of my favorite Star Trek scenes were just scenes where Jean-Luc Picard was giving some type of a philosophical speech at the end of an episode, really hammering home something to think about, because that's what Star Trek always was. It is showing a mankind that is past bigotry, past discrimination, and past poverty, and how they react being pushed into more and more high-pressure moral situations. But the new Star Trek really doesn't seem to understand this, and they really want to focus on deconstructing the human race and making the future look grimy and dark. There's nothing wrong with bringing in a sense of realism to your TV show, and I'm sure that's what they think they are doing. However, Star Trek is not the title to try and deconstruct the human race under. Star Trek is a title to show an optimistic future for mankind, and then relate this back to where we currently are and make us self-reflect on our own moralities and also see an optimistic future of what could possibly be. I feel like the Orville just keeps getting better and better each season. Pretty much every episode this season has done a really good job at putting the crew into morally difficult situations where there isn't always a best choice, and then seeing them come out the other end changed and being able to make us as the viewer question our own morality and really deeply think about it. And it doesn't do this by trying to highlight how crappy people are, it still keeps that optimistic future, which we all know Star Trek is about. Not to mention, the Orville has managed to keep the stories pretty exciting and fun, and the writing of the show is actually really good. For example, in episode 8, where an activist must put her whole movement at risk in order to save the life of a single child, and it's a great example of not being willing to sacrifice even a single person for the cause. That even one body at the foundation of your future is too much. Also, not to mention the heartbreaking sacrifice of Ensign Burke to save the Kaylon even though she hated them. There is literally nothing in the modern Star Trek that even comes close to this type of writing. As well, most of the action is pretty good. The show can be a bit cheesy at times, but this really is just a callback to Star Trek, as the Orville still is technically a parody. But I do believe that the Orville has grown out of being a parody and really has become a love letter to the original show, especially the Next Generation, where it seems to be drawing a lot of its influence from. And it's probably the closest thing that we are ever going to get to actually capturing that same spirit. But what do you guys think? Please give me your thoughts. Thanks a lot and have a great day.